don't think that just because you've got good technology, a good product, that it's just going to automatically sell.
If you are a founder or investor looking to understand the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's healthcare transformation, this episode is for you. We go beyond policies to uncover what truly works under Vision 2030.
Have you got a proof of concept? Have you done anything here before? Those are the three questions the system is going to ask anybody trying to enter the market.
What are the specific don'ts a startup or any company trying to reach out to Saudi as a market they should not do?
People want to know who you are. It is about relationships and it is about communication.
Vision 2030 thrives on trust. Your product can create value, but only trust will sustain it.
With bringing the right people together, we can save millions of people's lives. We cannot stop until we achieve our goals.
In this episode of NXT Health Commune, Steve Moore, founder of Welcome Health Ventures, shares what it takes to enter, build, and thrive in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030, a synonym of transformation. For the audience, those who are listening, this is NXT Health Commune podcast. We are talking to great brains in this world, especially in healthcare space, and looking at how it's actually shaping the future of healthcare. Okay, and on today our host is Dr. Smita, that's me, but our guest is Steve. And fundamentally, I want to understand about your organization, Welcome Health Ventures. And then through that, I would like to understand how you are associated with Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030. And more questions goes into that aspect. And then probably we'll have more conversations in future for different geographies that you are working with. You are helping companies to access into Saudi Arabia Vision 2030 through probably, how they can actually start their organization over there and set up over there. What's the criteria? Let's explore that aspect. And welcome to the show, and great to have you over here on this podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Smita. And I think what you're doing and with the podcast is so critical. This is all about knowledge transfer, and the more that we're able to share our lived experiences, share our knowledge, share our experiences with one another, the more people we can save, more lives we can save. And it's all about improving health and well-being, right? So Let's get into it.
Okay, perfect. So let's start at the beginning. Of course, you are super active on LinkedIn. Those who are connected with you are aware that what you do, a lot of things that you are participating into. But those who are not familiar with your organization, if you can tell about Welcome Health to begin with, and then we'll get into more into the topic of today's discussion.
Great, thank you. The start of the story of Welcome Health Ventures needs to begin not with the company, with the years before it, because like any good doctor, everybody's a scientist. So you observe your surroundings, you observe what's going on and where the gaps are. And I've been thinking about Welcome Health Ventures pretty much for the last decade plus, even though we only created the company last year.
Mm-hmm.
I've been living and working across the Middle East for over a decade now, and I've worked with a couple of governments. I worked for the Saudi government from 2019 for nearly 5 years, and we created Welcome Health Ventures last year because we understood the gap. The gap being, here is a wonderful market that's growing, that deserves the best, wants the best, and there are solutions that exist around the world, hundreds if not thousands of products and services that exist around the world that are proven to improve human health and well-being that are not in the region. And so the challenge is, how do we bring those solutions to the kingdom? And we don't want to bring every item. We don't want to bring in everything and anything. We need to make sure that what we do bring in really meets the challenges of today. We don't sell into it. we look at the challenges and we search the world for the right solution.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the challenge is go find me cola, well, then let's go bring in Coca-Cola and Pepsi.
Okay.
And we'll work with the system to decide which is best and help and support. So Welcome Health Ventures is a little bit like Switzerland and Geneva, I suppose. We sit in the middle of the system. We like to try and join up the dots within the system. And fundamentally, it's a scalability problem. There is amazing innovation that exists around the world. How do we identify it? How do we verify it? And how do we scale it? And that's what Welcome Health Ventures does.
Okay. And if I may ask, whenever I'm talking absolutely like a foreigner, right? Like I have no idea what you do, how you do. Are you officially been appointed by, the decision makers of Vision 2030? Because there are so many people that are available, and it's very difficult to access any new geography. So if they are working with you, are you official partner? How exactly it works?
It's interesting when you say about an official partner. No is the short answer, is the legal answer, but you don't need that.
Okay.
What we've been able to create, myself and my co-founder, having worked in the system for so long, we've built up an understanding, we've built up friendships. And in healthcare is very unique. You're able to bring together like-minded individuals who really care passionately about making a difference and making an impact. I could have stayed in my role, but chose not to because I wanted to help from the other side. I wanted to be able to help my friends in the system because we learned what it took to open up a company in Saudi Arabia. We learned what it took to get through the regulations and the compliance. We know how to do this. And I couldn't really support the system from the inside in the role that I was having. So we've created it from the outside. So do I have MOUs and do I have formal partnerships? I have a couple, but that's not the answer really to the question. The system leaders come to me and say, hey, Steve, what do you know? Who do you think? What do you think of this? Just this morning, I got a request from a system leader asking about, do I know any AI companies who would like to get involved and help us shape a new regulatory AI sandbox in the kingdom? And so it's these sort of things that happen. And I feel like the way of doing business, how to do business in Saudi Arabia is very different from a lot of places around the world. It's not like doing business in America or Europe or other parts of the world. And so it's a community.
Yeah.
They often say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a whole different community to identify, verify, and scale innovation. And everybody just helps out.
This is just an anecdote or some story. Yesterday, I was at a academic institution. After my meeting, I was taking a walk in this beautiful campus. It's next to C Camp, which is in Bangalore. It's a beautiful campus. And I happened to meet one PhD student. I asked her to click my pictures. And she told me about her organization. And what she said is the difference between other universities and this university is you walk inside any department or anywhere you need help and people are ready to help, and they're very positive to help about your queries as a student. And I told her that it's such a simple thing but it's so impactful. The reason is like we actually take things for granted, or we actually are very negative about these things by saying that I'm not going to get help. Whereas even this word call, you get the help to go to the right places and get the right things done, is such an important component of even, expanding your business in different geographies.
But what you've just said, I think the root of that is trust, right? It's human trust. And when I think about how does that translate when we're looking at innovation and new markets, etc., I think what's important here is to understand the value of human trust. It takes time.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that as human beings, we're pretty much all the same.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very blessed and honored to have been able to travel to nearly 60 countries around the world. And I
Wow.
love people, I love cultures, I love religion, and we're all just jigsaw puzzle pieces. But in order to create a beautiful picture, all the bits and pieces need to come together in a certain order. And
True.
and that's all that we're doing.
Oh, so beautiful. Like it connects, right? We, at the end of the day, all we want to help, if only if we get the opportunity. The reason I'm interested in Vision 2030, okay, it's a big transformative approach. All the
Mm-hmm.
countries, they work in silo. My need, my patients, my people, my hospital, my doctors, and then I have my ecosystem. Of course, there are global companies, those who are supporting for, say, the pharma, biotech, everything. But this is very transformational. Okay. Now, specifically in terms of healthcare, okay, how you are contributing to this vision, or especially in terms of development outcome, what's the overall vision is about?
First of all, is you're absolutely right. People work in silos. That's not necessarily a bad thing. We often say, "Oh, people work in silos. It's a bad thing."
Mhm.
We're just human beings, right? We wake up in the morning. We've got kids. We've got elderly parents. We've got our lives. We've got you're a doctor, you're a woman, you're a mother, you're a sister, you're a niece. We live busy lives,
Mm.
and people are just generally trying to get to the end of the day. I
Mhm.
think a lot of people are just trying to get to the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I can understand why people get sort of narrow focused, and I
Mm.
don't. I think that's okay.
Yeah.
That's just human nature.
Yeah.
But what that silo nature does is it kind of pigeonholes certain things, and it's nice to take a step back from that and think
Mm.
strategically and big picture. And so when I
Mhm.
think about Saudi's 2030 vision, a
Mhm.
lot of people in healthcare will just immediately look to the healthcare transformation side of
Mm.
things.
Mm.
In reality, the country's transformation program is so much more and so much more complex than
Mhm.
just healthcare transformation. If
Mhm.
you look at the Vision 2030 website, you will see lots of different programs. You will see lots of different initiatives. And so when we think about healthcare innovation coming into Saudi Arabia, we're not just looking at healthcare, we're
Mm.
looking at job creation. We're looking at female empowerment. We're
Mhm.
looking at skills and development. We're looking at human capability building. We're looking at potentially manufacturing opportunities for
Mhm.
devices.
Mhm.
There's so many more touch points that
Mhm.
it is not as simple as a company saying, I've created this device in healthcare that is proven. I just want to sell it. It is
Mm.
about creating the narrative, the
Mm.
story around it. And that's what we help companies do.
Yeah.
We work with companies to guide them on market
Mhm.
access. We
Mm.
work with companies to support them with stakeholder analysis. We support business cases. We do research, and we prepare companies to have the right conversations with the right leaders. It is
Mhm.
about communication. And
Mm.
that is what builds trust. You
Yeah.
can have the right product, you can have the right team, you can have all of this. But if you
Mhm.
don't know how to talk and communicate, if you don't know
Mm.
how to use their language,
Correct. Mm.
if you don't understand how to do business in
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, if you don't have the fundamentals,
Mhm.
you are not going to succeed. And
Correct.
I don't think that's any different from any
Mm.
other country.
Mhm.
That must be the same way you are in
Yeah.
India too, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, and that's exactly when I work with the startup ecosystem in India. I tell them that do not take anything that is probably there in US and just try to replicate for our country. The way our doctors are treating the patients, the way our hospital ecosystem works, um, go inside the hospital and see how his actually doctor is prescribing, or how many patients are surrounded when they are actually doing one consultation. So our problems are very different. So you cannot bring any technology and try to implement over here. We have to see how it works in our ecosystem, in our country, how people are responding to it. Okay, a basic example is doctors over here, when they talk to other patients, they want one-to-one connection. They do not want a digital interface in between. Okay, and where we need a electronic data, this is fundamentally how as a doctor, I treat my patient, right? I really want that connection. I want to talk to them. I want to understand. And patient is always with relatives, father, mother, everything. It's the whole community that I'm answering to. And that's why when I work with startups in India, I tell them that go inside the hospital, find out if you want to talk to doctors and you say that my system works. Go with the published papers, go with evidence-based research white papers, because that's the language doctors understand. You speak my language, I'll listen to you. Okay. So, and I can understand what you are saying, because if somebody needs to talk to me, they need to speak my language. And that's what you are translating.
Let's try and make this real, right? So
Mm.
I get so excited when you say this. So what you're talking about in my world, I call it localization. Just because
Mm.
something works well in another country doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work well in say Saudi. And so
Yeah.
we need to go through a period of what we call localization. We have
Mm.
to change the language, right? They speak
Mm.
Arabic. There's
Mm.
a lot of the population that speak Urdu. There's a huge Indian community in Saudi Arabia. So language is really important. We know
Mm.
religion is really important.
Yeah.
It's important that we sort of, just because something's proven elsewhere, we need to help localize it. And
Mm.
that's no different. And like we explored earlier, it's not about trying to bring anything and everything into the market. It has to be a challenge. And
Mm.
so if we were to make this real, we can think about women's health, for example,
Mm.
and we can think about there's a global need
Mm.
to look at this subject area. If we have a women's health company that's looking at entering the kingdom, we have to start off with that literature review. We have to start off with a business case. We have to start looking at what are the identifying if the problem that the solution has been built for elsewhere,
Mm.
does that problem exist, or what's the extent
Exactly.
of the problem? What's the extent of that need?
Mm.
And women's health is an easy thing for us to look at because it's such a big area and it's so underinvested and investigated that
Mm.
we know there's always going to be a need. There's always going to be a home for this, for whatever the
Mm.
solution is. What are the challenges? In one side, we have an innovative solution that wants to enter a market. On the other side, we have the system. Now, the
Mm.
system will not always, they don't always have money, right? This is often
Mm.
public health, even if it's a private health sector. Their currency is not finance, their currency is access. So
Mm.
then you need to have investors. And so we try to sit in the middle of that to join the three up. If
Mm.
you've got an Indian solution that you think is going to work well in Saudi Arabia, chances are you're going to need additional capital
Mm.
to come over and set up in a place like Saudi.
Mm.
And investment is really, really important.
Yeah.
So for us, we try to do the localization piece.
Mm.
We helped connect these companies to do pilots and proof of concepts. But if
Mm.
you get an MOU, if you get a letter of intent from a system that says, "Hey, we'll work with you to try this on 10 patients, and
Mm.
we see where it goes," we can take that
Okay.
MOU to some of our investors, and they'll help fund it because they go, "Oh wow, you're coming
Mm.
here." They've said yes, okay, let's back and support this.
Yeah.
But here's the final piece that a lot of people miss out on, and you touched on it beautifully: academic writing,
Mm.
the ability to write up the results in Saudi medical journals.
Yeah.
Not the American International Journal of whatever,
Mm.
not the British Medical Journal,
Mm.
whilst these are obviously globally well respected sources. As a doctor, I imagine you want to see this written in peer reviewed academic journals.
Mm.
I don't need a glossy marketing
Yeah.
magazine.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me a peer review academic journal any day of the week.
Yeah. And that's so true. And it's such a universal language for scientific people and doctors. Give me a good research published in a good journal, and I'll understand everything. That's the language we understand. Just speak to us. Okay, perfect. Now, I have the next question, and going deeper into your work at in Saudi, participating into all these things is, what's your selection criteria? How do you is there a selection criteria? And I understand it should fit into the bigger vision, and that's a very important point. But are there any list of priorities or focus areas for now, or is it something like a annually let's solve this problem first, followed by the problem two? Is there anything? How exactly it works there?
There's a couple of things in what you've said. The easiest thing to say is either you're at clinical trial stage or you're already regulatory approved somewhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We like to solve problems and challenges today.
Mm-hmm.
Have a huge amount of respect for those who are doing through clinical trials, but we are trying to identify proven, oven-ready solutions that can come to the market today.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't start off too early in the innovation startup seed journey, but equally, we want to be able to start early enough. So if you've just got regulatory approval, if you're within a couple of years of having got regulatory approval, this is great. That's not discounting much more enterprise level opportunities. We absolutely can help and support on that. But when we think about innovation, it often comes from university spin-outs. It often comes from PhD students. It comes from this side of things. And so we want to work with stuff that's already proven and works elsewhere. So it's a localization conversation, not testing the actual clinical evidence of it.
Got it.
And I think the other reason for that is the rules around regulatory approval in the kingdom. There's a fast track process within the Saudi FDA that if you are at least US FDA, EU, UK approved, we can help you get, so long as the file is perfect, the Saudi FDA KPI is to get regulatory approval within 30 to 35 days, which is incredibly quick. So when we are talking to system leaders and they say, hey, Steve, we need cola, I bring you in cola, and then we face the challenge of getting things regulatory approved, then there's a fast track for doing so. So we're not waiting around months for us to get this going. So we're answering again the needs of today. The other area that is almost like a prerequisite, people need to understand they need to set up an office in Saudi Arabia. They need a Saudi bank account. And that process is relatively straightforward and easy, but there must be a commitment to do so. We can help create that. There are many different licenses. There are different routes on how to open up a company. But the Saudi system is only really going to contract with a local entity. They don't want to contract outside internationally. And the government have put something in place called withholding tax. Withholding tax is basically a tax on international financial transactions. And whilst the amount isn't a huge amount, for some things it can be as little as 5%, but it can be significantly higher, depends on the activity. It's the bureaucracy that sits behind it. So you often will face the basic questions: are you local? Which is, do you have a local bank account? Because that allows us to contract with you. Are you compliant? Are you legal? Have you got all of your regs? Have you passed through the Saudi FDA? Yes or no? Have you got a proof of concept? Have you done anything here before? Yes or no? And we help. Those are the three questions they're the first three questions the system is going to ask anybody trying to enter the market. So, are you local? We can set you up a bank account. Are you regulatory approved? We do that.
Mm-hmm.
Have you done anything here before? We can help with this too, with pilots and proof of concepts.
Mm-hmm.
These three areas are almost prerequisites to having conversations with the bigger senior players in the system. They don't have the time to deal with all of those issues. They don't want to spend lots of time localizing it. And the other issue with scaling innovation, and this is not unique to Saudi Arabia, is the integration into existing infrastructure, which is again that localization debate. So if you've tried it out with 10 patients and you've got in a Saudi academic journal, etc., it all
Mm-hmm.
just makes it easier. You have to make it an easy yes. And again, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think those criteria are unique to Saudi Arabia. I think
Yeah.
that criteria is true of most markets around the world.
Mhm. I understand about the innovation where all the regulation, proof of concept, all these things are required, and also the regulatory approval. What about like digital health technology or hospitals or diagnostic companies, those who want to start their operations? Take the example, if there is a large chain of hospitals over here in India, could be very unique, could be a women health topic of your interest, my interest, specifically for, take the example of infertility related issues, or probably menopause related issues, or adolescent health, menstrual health, any such kind of a very unique niche, but they have already multiple centers across India or other countries, probably in Dubai. If they want to access how exactly it works for them.
You touched on something really, really important. I'll share with you very briefly the story of IVF. It's one of the reasons I created Welcome Health Ventures, and it's one of the
Mm,
reasons why I get up every day and fight for what I believe in. A lot of people will know the story of IVF, but for those that don't, it took 10 years of failure. I forget the exact number now, but I think there's something in the region of 180 women
mm,
went through the clinical trials. And of those women, they went through multiple different cycles. Some people went through
mm,
more than 10 cycles and still failed. Then we had the birth of a lady called Louise Brown, who's still alive
mm,
today. And she's an amazing woman. And she talks a lot about her experiences as being the first test tube baby,
mm,
is how we call it. So we had 10 years of failure. And then we had Eureka moment. It
mm,
worked. It then takes 15, 20 years to scale IVF around the world
mm,
before the world really sees it as a common thing, like it's normal, it's
mm,
even potentially best practice. Some countries today are still primitive in their rollout of IVF. It should not take 15, 20 years to scale innovation.
yeah.
And with digital health, we have an opportunity of reducing that down to 2 years, 3 years, and think about how many more lives we're going to improve and how
Mm,
many more lives we could potentially save if we can overcome the scalability challenge.
mm, mm,
I say this in all sincerity. There are millions of people around the world who are suffering ill health and people who are dying because of me, because of Steve Moore.
mm,
Because I'm aware of technology and innovation that exists that improves human health that is not scaled up. And that's what gets me up and out of bed every morning.
wow,
And that's what should drive all of us.
yeah.
The health inequity is it's never been great. And we have an opportunity to fix that with digital health solutions.
Mm,
What I think we have a unique opportunity to do is create innovation highways, innovation superhighways
mm,
to certain touch points around the world. Saudi Arabia is a hub.
mm,
India is a hub. There's some incredible innovation that's coming out of India that deserves to be scaled up, but it does not all need to be one-way traffic. There's
mm,
so much investment going into the GCC around digital health and AI solutions
yeah.
that now and over the next 5, 10, 15 years, there's going to be a surge of new innovation coming out of the GCC. So how do we get innovation out of Saudi and into India?
Mm-hmm.
It does not need to be one-way traffic. What we're looking at trying to do is create almost like communities of practice. We want to create a trusted network of individuals where if you, Smita, say to me, Steve, here's a really good company. It's about due diligence. It's about you've tested the engine under the hood.
Yeah.
I am not a clinician. I can look at a car engine and I can say, oh yeah, that's a car engine. I have no idea how car engines work. I can't strip a car engine. I can tell you that's a Toyota car engine, or I can tell you that's a Formula One engine. And when we think about healthcare innovation like this, the world needs Toyota engines and the world needs Formula One engines. It is about finding the right home for these innovations.
Yeah.
But we need to make sure that the engines work. And I think with AI, and we talk about genetics and precision medicine, language is important. You're a doctor, you sit with patients in front of you.
Yeah.
When you hear words, things like precision medicine, genomics, AI, the doctors that I talk to, they have anxiety. They don't really understand what it means. Who actually knows how AI works? How do we know it's safe? How do we know it is useful? The ethics of it are a very important part of it. How do we trust AI? And these are the conversations that we're having today. And we have to solve these because healthcare as an industry is probably the biggest industry in the world where AI is going to have the most dramatic impact.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that answers the question. I forgot the question.
No, but you explained so many things, and I have a very interesting point to speak on this. And we'll come back to the question again. There is one thing that you said, right? India is positioned in such a way that we provide services. Okay, we are the people, those who need business. Okay, and it is one way. India has done lots of work, and we go and work in other countries. We go give our softwares and our doctors and our innovations to other countries. But India is a very difficult market. If you have some innovation, if you want to do it in India, okay, it's a very difficult thing. And when I talk to my friends in Scotland, and I tell that I am that new generation, business owner from India now, and I want to create a market for you. I want to do that. Now, first point, whenever we speak, it's a pricing. We always say that India is a difficult market when it comes to pricing. It's very expensive outside. You have to make it like a low cost in India, which is not 100% true. It's many like metro cities or larger organization, the cost of living as well as healthcare expenses, as well as the cost I pay for accessing particular things is as high as my friends, those who are staying in New York, UK, London, my doctor's friends across globe. And it is possible that, solutions outside India can actually see the market in India now. It is possible. And that's one of the things that I try to do is it possible to get you a market, especially if something innovative? There is one organization that I was I was exploring, I was researching. They have point of care device to find antimicrobial resistance in hospital setup, in the OTs and in the health in the hospital sector, and it's pretty good. It's very nice. And why to reinvent everything again? They have a nice solution. Pricing is perfectly fine. Why not to allow them to talk to hospitals in India and implement it over here? So something like that I was also exploring, and that's a beautiful market. My question is, apart from the innovation and other things, is conventional mainstream healthcare solutions, hospitals, diagnostics, clinics, are they also have opportunity to start up their units or centers or offices in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, 100%. Everything is possible in Saudi Arabia. It is possible to open up new clinics. Saudi Arabia has changed a lot over the last 5 years, the last 10 years. I remember when I first started, you had to be invited in to even travel to Saudi. Now you can get a tourist visa for certain nationalities. I think I'm not sure about Indian passports, but for a lot of people, you're able just to get a tourist visa online within 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's important is whilst the opportunity is there and Saudi Arabia is very open to bring a lot of things in, you mentioned AMR, and that is a global problem. And I
Yeah.
want to come back to it's not just about bringing in anything and everything. It is about what's the right thing to bring in.
Mm-hmm.
And AMR solutions are really, really important. So
Yeah.
between 2018 and 2023, antibiotic resistance rose nearly 40% during that time.
Mm-hmm.
There's an annual increase of 5 to 15% of resistance. And that's just unsustainable.
Mm-hmm.
I know those are WHO figures. We see now resistance prevalence rates across 22 antibiotics that are used to
Mm-hmm.
treat common infections for things
Mm-hmm.
like urinary and gastrointestinal tracts. This is a huge problem. So if India or others are working in this area, which I'm sure they are, anybody who's having good success in this deserves to be scaled, right? We're improving human health. But what
Mm-hmm.
are the other areas? I'm really passionate about autism. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really important. Neurodiversity. I myself am diagnosed with ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
and I talk a lot about that. And I think there's a wonderful opportunity to focus on this area. We look at things like radiology, diagnostic equipment in general, and AI.
Mm-hmm.
We're already seeing the impact of things like breast screening,
Mm-hmm.
but not everybody has access to breast screening AI technology.
Mm-hmm.
I know India does, and lots of other countries do, but not everybody. So it becomes a health equity conversation. Things like value-based healthcare, things like billing, costing, coding, revenue cycle management. So if I think about ICD-11, coding is being rolled out. We're upgrading this part of healthcare too. So that's going to be a huge topic over the next few years, and genetics and precision medicine, of course. So I think
Mm-hmm.
if you're working in any of these areas,
Mm-hmm.
these are the sort of things that are easy to scale up.
Okay, I'll have last three questions because I think I wish I could do this podcast for a very, very longer duration, right? Like, but unfortunately on YouTube the span of attention is very less, and I want people to take real right notes out of this. Let's again go back to our Vision 2030 story. You are with Welcome, Health Ventures. It's been 1 year, but you are associated with a very more longer duration with Saudi, market. Can you tell me any interesting success story? A company who's probably started their discussion and now they are doing a good business over there, or they have some expansion happening over there, either through Welcome or from your previous experience.
It's important to know that it's often easier. I don't think this is too unfamiliar. It is easier to get started in the private sector than it is to get started in the public sector because of the procurement rules and the bureaucracy and the sort of decision making that needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're dealing with complex adaptive systems, of which healthcare very much is, then the runway can take some time. We've had some successes where things have moved quite quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and those have tended not necessarily to needed to have, say, Saudi FDA approval.
Mm-hmm.
If I look at PROMs and PREMs, for example, this is sort of patient-reported outcome measures. There's quite a lot that can be done in this area. You don't need to necessarily have toys to get through this out. As a company, it doesn't all have to be devices.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a consultancy, change management consultancy, these sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about education, so it's not always about medical devices that the only area of interest. I think the most successful ones, the quickest. When you say successful, it's about, I think, speed, and I
Yeah.
think those best success stories are those which are not devices, because devices take a bit of time to go through the whole
Mm-hmm.
procurement process. But there are a few that are going through that. we've got stuff regulatory approved through in the UAE, and we've got stuff through the Saudi FDA, and we've got a whole pipeline moving through that journey right now. I think for me, we're working with a women's health company right now who just a month ago visited Saudi Arabia, and we've arranged for them to have a pilot for them to have 10 patients use their application, and we've got the protocol of that together. All of that's going through quite well. They're looking at raising some funds. And if there's any rich people out here listening on the call, any investors, please do get in touch, because we're always looking for more and more investors to help and support grow innovation. We're helping them right now, and I would say I'm very proud of that work. I'm very pleased with the way that's going. I'm working with a mental health company that is a medical device which focuses on brain stimulation that is clinically proven to support patients with depression and anxiety. It actually supports people with ADHD like myself. I'm a user of it. This one I can say, Flow Neuroscience. I love these guys a lot. I think they're going to change the world. They've just got regulatory approval in Australia. They're a Swedish company. They're doing amazing things, and we're supporting them directly across the region.
India also, we need such kind of a solutions. You told me about the success mantra, almost you explained for last half an hour. What are the specific don'ts? There is something that a startup or any company trying to reach out to Saudi as a market, they should not do.
That's a great question. Don't come to Saudi Arabia or the Middle East with a product and don't just think you're going to be able to sell it quickly, and don't think that just because you've got good technology, a good product, that it's just going to automatically sell. Don't sit there saying this product's going to change the world. The Middle East is about relationships. You're going to spend practically 55 minutes of a 1 hour meeting talking about who you are, your family, your upbringing. People want to know who you are. People do business with other people. It is about relationships, and it is about communication. So don't come in there thinking, I'm just going to come and sell my thing.
Yeah.
You're looking to create long-term relationships. It is potentially a very lucrative market, but it takes time. It takes investment. Investment both financially and non-financially to invest in those relationships. Don't come to conferences and leave on the last day. So we have Global Health Exhibition coming up. If anybody of your audience is listening and is attending Global Health Exhibition in a few weeks, or is attending any event in the Middle East region, we've got WHX coming up in Dubai in February. What I often see is people fly in for the conference, and on the last day of the conference, they fly home. Yeah. So let me get this straight. Let me play this back to people. You've flown in, you've met loads of people, and then what does that tell the locals about your commitment to the market? That you haven't stayed behind to meet with the people that you have met for a few extra days, to go have dinner with them, to have coffee with them, to go meet them in their office, to action the positive conversations that you've already had. Far too many people do. I would say 98%, 99% of people go to a conference, jump on the first plane home.
Yeah.
Stick behind, stay behind. And actually, one of the things that we offer as a service is we have people on the ground. We are able to represent companies on the ground so that CEOs and people don't need to keep flying in and out every 5 minutes. What tends to happen is you can build up momentum quite quickly, but it fails because you've got to go to other parts of the world, and not everything is done on WhatsApp. Not everything is done on virtual. you've got to be present, but we understand how difficult it is to be present. So we do offer concierge services. We offer to represent teams on the ground so that we can be the ones who effectively almost like PMO the relationship. We can be talking to the system leaders and saying, hey, you've got some actions on this. Let's make sure those actions get done. So we don't face a situation where people get ghosted. So I think those are the most important things. Don't leave events early. Don't assume that just because you got a good product, it's going to sell. And if you are not investing in long-term relationships and you don't know how to communicate, don't bother with Saudi Arabia.
Okay, I made my notes because then I have to plan a little longer visit when I'm planning to come and meet you either in Saudi or probably in UK. I agree. I think majority of my good discussions happened after the meetings. Majority of the conversation, and I was able to build a good rapport. And whether the business happens or not, these people are going to help you some other way in life. Yesterday I was meeting one scientist, and initially we talked about what is important, what's the agenda. And once the conversation was over, we started speaking about her experiences with, her father's health, and I was telling about my experiences with my father's health, and that's where the connection happened because we had that same thing. That when I was speaking about my father, I was in tears, and she was in tears. Or when she was speaking, and we was like, that's exactly when we started actually the conversation that what we are doing and how we should. And I got a message from her in the morning, and I was like, thank you for your suggestion. Because after that conversation, the suggestion she gave me for the area that I'm exploring, I think that's the most important two sentences probably somebody must have told me in the cell therapy that I'm trying to explore. Okay, but I get it. I totally get it.
You've just raised. Hopefully, people are enjoying this session so much that they'll enjoy spending an extra few minutes on YouTube watching this. You've raised something really important when you talk about parents. One of my favorite statistics in Saudi Arabia is that there's approximately 1.5 million people who are aged over 65 and older today. That's going to increase over the next sort of decade to be 2.5 million, 3 million. So it's set to about double. By 2050, that number is going to be 10 million people.
Okay.
So when we start thinking about palliative healthcare, end-of-life care, home healthcare, this is going to be a sector which is going to be huge over the next decade in a place like Saudi. And what's worrying is the people who are in their sort of late 30s, 40s, early 50s who are going to creep into that age bracket. These are an unhealthy population today. These are people who have diabetes. These are people who have COPD. They'll have, one chronic, if not more than one chronic condition. So it's not a case, it's about longevity. There's an issue around longevity. How do we help bend the curve on things like NCDs now so that there's not so much of an expensive cost on the system later? How we're going to look after elderly people in a Islamic cultured healthcare delivery setting. So, for example, there's not many hospices around the kingdom. But as we see the growth of the kingdom, we can take pointers from the rest of the world. If you increase the wealth of the middle class and social mobility and people moving around, people are moving to big cities. It means more the rural areas. There's going to be lots more services needed to cater older populations in more rural in more rural cities. We see this in the UK. We see it in Japan. We see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Cornwall in the southwest is a beautiful part of the United Kingdom, has a higher percentage of people who are age 65 and over compared to, say, London. So the way we're offering services, how we're offering services, the types of services that need to be provided in a place like Saudi are going to change over time. And so those who are really passionate about the subject in terms of research, development, academia, this whole thing is about trust, relationships, and loyalty, and so on. And let's start building positive foundations today so that the system in 10, 15 years' time is robust enough to really do this well. It's about learning from the mistakes of other healthcare systems and putting things right in a place like Saudi.
Wow. No, geriatric care is, I don't like the word geriatric care because it starts at longevity starts at the age of 35. If you look at it, right? Like if you take care of your health and
You're
your
making me feel old now. You're making me feel old.
and that's
Definitely
where
past that.
actually we have to start thinking. Okay, so those who are listening, those I will reach out to, they want to contact you. How to work with you? What's the best way to work with you?
Have a look at our website, welcomehealth.ventures, or find me on LinkedIn, Steve Moore, WHV. You're going to find us there. Send us a message. My generic email, go to info@welcomehealth.ventures. Through you, come find me at any major healthcare conference in the Middle East. Invite me to healthcare events in India and elsewhere. I love to speak on panels and share my knowledge and life experience with others. And just get in touch. Happy to help for anything. We've got a wonderful team.
LinkedIn is good. I've seen you being very active. It helps and I do have your direct email ID, not the info at, so people can connect with me as well if they want to connect with you. This is so important. Like I really want to discuss more, but I think we have covered whatever we thought that we should cover in this podcast for Vision 2030. And thank you so much. I think what you are doing is incredible. You are making it easy for people to speak the language they understand. Looking at healthcare solutions at a more scalable level, and scalability is just not your business scalable, but it is relevant to every aspect of life. And I'm so happy I'm talking to you. Thank you so much to come on my podcast. And any last message you want to give for this conversation?
Thank you for having me. Love this conversation. Let's remember that we are all scientists, and with bringing the right people together, we can save millions of people's lives. And we can, by having the right attitude, the right values, the right philosophy, we really can improve global health. And we cannot stop until we achieve our goals.
That's wonderful. Okay, and I think I'm really happy. I'm really happy that we have connected, and I hope this will inspire people, especially those who want to, find the solution. And this is the future. This is the future of healthcare. This is the real transformation. Thank you so
Great.
much,
Thanks
Steve.
for having me.